Another principle of effective paragraph development that we discussed is support. Let's take a look at this paragraph and analyze how the paragraph suffers from a lack of support. Globalization has become a controversial topic in recent years. While many critics consider the trend a bane to our existence, globalization has actually resulted in lower prices, more jobs, enhanced opportunities, and more diversity in our society. First, prices are lower because countries that produce goods or provide services for lower wages can offer those goods and services at a fraction of the price that other countries with higher wage rates would charge. Second, globalization creates jobs. Clearly, if prices are lower, consumers spend less money on certain goods and services and can spend more on other goods and services, including those provided in this country. Third, these trends create opportunities. With computers, services, and other durable goods being made or provided overseas, the need for cross-cultural training, language development, travel, and other services expands. Finally, this all results in more diversity in our society. The typical American corporation has employees from India, China, Russia, and South and Central America, along with Africa and Europe. Globalization has been a benefit to our country overall. The first item, prices are lower, is only supported with one sentence. It's a thorough sentence, but examples could be provided to drive home the point, and the writer fails to do this. The writer simply states a concept that if prices are lower, because countries that produce goods or provide services for lower wages charge lower prices, but no examples are given. In the second situation, globalization creates jobs. All the writer does is talk about the fact that if prices are lower, consumers will spend less money on certain goods and can spend more money on other goods and services. But there's no analysis of how this would create a job. There's no cause and effect analysis given here at all. This lacks support. This would not be an adequately supported point in this paragraph. Third, these trends create opportunities. With computers, services, and other durable goods being made or provided overseas, the need for cross-cultural training, language development, travel, and other services expands. Well, the point is that these trends create opportunities. All the writer has done is talked about cultural training and language development and travel and other services becoming needier. But where are the opportunities created? What point is this person making? The person has not developed the ideas with examples or cause and effect analysis or any other type of analysis. Finally, this all results in more diversity in our society. The typical American corporation has employees from India, China, Russia, and South and Central America, along with Africa and Europe. Well, that may be true, but there is no analysis here about whether this diversity is a result of globalization. There is no connection given to the fact that the typical American corporation has employees from these countries to globalization. There's no analysis here at all. There is a lack of support here. What is lacking in this paragraph overall is the concept of support. Take a look at the paragraph on the same topic that we analyzed before and see how it is much more developed. Globalization has become a controversial topic in recent years. While many critics consider the trend a bane to our existence, globalization has actually resulted in lower prices, more jobs, enhanced opportunities, and more diversity. Let's examine the first. First, prices are lower because countries that produce goods or provide services for lower wages can offer those goods and services at a fraction of the price that other countries with higher wage rates would charge. For example, Americans humor each other about the outsourcing of call centers and technical support services to India. However, imagine the cost of services like AOL or computers like Dell would be if these companies' call centers were located in the United States. Another example, imagine shopping at Target and paying prices for school supplies that had been made in the United States instead of in China. So we have examples of call centers and support services to India, production to China, specific examples of companies like AOL, Dell, and Target, whose prices the writer is claiming are cheaper because of globalization. So this gives adequate support because it provides interesting examples to drive home the person's point. Then the writer summarizes the point. Clearly, while Americans complain about outsourcing, we seem to enjoy its benefits in the form of lower prices, more than we'd like to admit. A nice way of summarizing one's point. Second, globalization creates jobs. Let's see how the writer develops this. Clearly, if prices are lower, consumers spend less money on certain goods and services and can spend more on other goods and services, including those provided in this country. Therefore, and we're going to see some examples here, If the cost of, for example, computers is low, people who buy computers have more expendable income to purchase items such as paper, which is produced here. The writer doesn't stop, though. More jobs are then created in the paper industry. So the writer not only provides two examples of two industries, like computers or paper, but drives home the point by giving some cause and effect analysis. More jobs are then created in this industry. Third, these trends create opportunities. How does the writer develop this? With computers, services, and other durable goods being made or provided overseas, the need for cross-cultural training, language development, travel, and other services expands, thus creating jobs for instructors, airline hostesses, and a whole range of other American workers who provide these services. This drives home the point, establishes the point that opportunities are created with globalization. Whether you agree with the writer or not, this writer is doing a much better job of supporting the point than the previous writer had done in the previous paragraph. Let's see how the writer develops the fourth point. Finally, this all results in more diversity in our society. The typical American corporation has employees from India, China, Russia, and South and Central America, along with Africa and Europe. This is because employees from these parts of the globe are needed in a company that markets and sells products and services to the global marketplace. So the writer now links this diversity to the trend of globalization. We enrich our communities and our companies by including this range of individuals in our workforce. So the writer here does a much better job than the writer of the previous paragraph did in developing the point about increasing diversity and the connection between globalization and the increase in diversity. We're going to take a look at another paragraph, the one about the Internet, and look at an example of a paragraph written on that topic without proper support. The Internet has changed the shopping habits of consumers in two ways. First, the Internet has caused shoppers to engage in price comparison more thoroughly. In the past, shoppers had to travel from store to store to make phone calls to various merchants to inquire about prices, product availability, and store hours. Well, then the writer goes on to the second point. So the whole first point is developed with one sentence. All the writer says is that in the past, shoppers had to travel, but there's no analysis given about how the Internet has caused any change in that. Going to the second point, second, the Internet has resulted in a change at the times at which people shop, with more shopping taking place during the weekdays and more purchases being made late in the evening than had occurred before. Internet shoppers tend to buy products late at night after children have gone to bed, and the parent has time on the computer for uninterrupted browsing. Well, this isn't bad, but this could be analyzed in a much more thorough fashion than it has been by this writer. Let's take a look at a proper development of this topic. The Internet has changed the shopping habits of consumers in two ways. First, the Internet has caused shoppers to engage in price comparison more thoroughly. In the past, shoppers had to travel from store to store or make phone calls to various merchants to inquire about prices, product availability, and store hours. This often resulted in a sense of frustration and a resignation to settle for a certain item, even if the customer had not checked that particular item in all stores. Now we see a little more explanation. With the emergence of the Internet, consumers can investigate the prices and products of a number of merchants with a few clicks of the mouse. This convenience has caused most consumers to become more discriminating and to comparison shop more thoroughly than they had in the past. A much more thorough analysis than the previous paragraph had provided. Continuing, second, the Internet has resulted in a change at the times at which people shop, with more shopping taking place during the weekdays and more purchases being made late in the evening than had occurred before. In the past, when shopping at brick-and-mortar stores, consumers tended to buy items on the weekdays when they had the time to navigate around the various shopping malls and pick up their merchandise. So this is a description of the past. However, the Internet has eliminated the need to drive from place to place. Now, consumers tend to purchase items on weekdays. In fact, instead of purchasing items during the traditional store hours, Internet shoppers tend to buy products late at night. So we see not only are they shopping on different days, but they're shopping at different times of the day, which is exactly what the paragraph had stated earlier. So this is a much more thorough analysis of the phenomenon that the writer is talking about. Overall, you should see from these examples how a poorly developed paragraph really leaves the reader needing more information to analyze the topic by himself or herself. As a writer, you shouldn't make your reader have to fill in the blanks. You should provide adequate support for your paragraph. Provide adequate support, whether it be cause and effect analysis, examples, anecdotal information, to provide proper support for the point you're making.